Hi everyone, my name is Gitika Gorthy, and today I'm joined by a very special guest for our Youth Advisory Board STEM Champion video series with Dr. Anestidou. Dr. Anestidou is a highly experienced science policy professional with in-depth knowledge of research and education at the global level. Her expertise in identifying opportunities for capacity building and assistance, especially in the higher education and academic sectors, are complemented by her strong leadership skills and her ability to create long lasting partnerships with young leaders and scientists in many parts of the world. She is motivated by the urgent need to improve human and animal welfare, especially in places where suffering and poverty have eroded the basic social and educational foundations that can help improve human and animal lives and the environment. The STEM Champion video series highlights the diverse STEM community and the journey STEM champions have taken, allowing children and young adults to see what is achievable. During our conversation, Dr. Anestidou will discuss her background and career, as well as insights on the future of the industry. Welcome. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to be with us.
Well, I very much am honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So, kind of before we get on to understanding more about what you do in your work and how you got to how you became today, I'd like to understand. You've had a very, when I read about it, you've had a very interesting and impactful career on improving human and animal life as well as the environment. So, before we kind of get into understanding more details of your journey, I'd like to know more about your role. What do you do on a daily basis?
Well, um, I am a consultant, which is a new thing for me. This happened in the year 2020. Before that, I was a senior program officer with the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine, where among many things, I led programs, international programs on research integrity and ethics of biomedical research in many low and middle income countries, which gave me a lot of insight into those parts of the world and also allowed me to get to know and be friends with an enormous number of scientists, both in the early career stages of research instructors and postdocs, all the way up to university presidents and so forth, but people who are scientists, biomedical scientists in my situation, um, who the only thing that is different between us is that they reside elsewhere in places where perhaps the dedication to science does not come from the government level, but it's very much incumbent upon individuals and the way they love being scientists, the way they practice research, the way they teach their students, their graduates and undergraduate students, the way they run their labs, and so forth. So this is the primary thing that I have been doing for the last many years. I'm also, as you mentioned, a veterinarian, and I have practiced veterinary medicine a long, long time ago. And in more recent years, I have been involved with more policy work that pertains to how laboratory animals are used in biomedical research, as well as projects in One Health, which is where a lot of the initial, the way you introduced me initially come from. So One Health is a framework of approaching the intersection of how animal, human, and the environment, the lives, the health, and the disease of each of these three things intersect. And so these are the things I've been doing a lot of. And as a consultant, I am trying to be involved with projects that pertain to one of these kinds of elements. And I realize that they're not really often that they come together. Of course, many veterinarians are involved in One Health, but to have One Health and then have ethics and then have global partnerships and have veterinary medicine and whatnot is I hope I want to think it's a unique combination.
It definitely is. I've actually never heard such diverse studies and like different careers and how you combined everything to, have what you are doing today. So it's definitely very interesting.
Well, I think some of it came, I don't know if it's luck. I cannot tell that. There's definitely been a lot of hard work. There's definitely been opportunities that I created. There's also been a lot of thinking outside the box. And I think one of the more, and I in the question, in the queue, the questions you provided for me, and I sort of read a little bit about and thought about some things. One of the elements that I think you come to realize, if you are lucky earlier in your career, but if you're not, it comes later on in life, is that sometimes to be happy, you have to think outside the box and you have to do things that go against the so-called norm. Uh, when I was doing my doctorate in biomedical sciences, which took longer than the average of 5 years, I was unhappy because I did not want to do this for the rest of my life, primarily because I couldn't come up with ideas that were fundable, which is the basic tenet. You have to get funding, grants to do this, have a successful laboratory and so forth. It took me a long time to get to be okay with the idea that I was not never going to be, a high caliber scientist of, Nobel laureate caliber, and that I could do other things. But it is a difficult journey, and I can understand how similar thoughts might go through the students in secondary education who struggle with either lack of a supportive environment, or teachers and mentors or parents who do understand a passion they may have, which may not be the conventional career, go to get your first degree, then maybe go to get a professional degree that's going to give you a good salary and whatnot. Not everything is about that. And sometimes it's easy to do that, but other times you really have to struggle with it.
Yeah, I know at the Children's Science Center, we teach children of all ages different science topics, and we always try to encourage diversity and options to allow children to explore the different opportunities they have, which I think encourages out of the box thinking and
Mhm.
critical thinking, which obviously develops as you grow up, but that's something that we also greatly advocate for. It's definitely an important skill. And hearing about how you pursued your medicine and veterinary degree from the College of Veterinary Medicine, I'm really interested. You've been through so many research projects, probably, and you probably went through a lot of interesting journeys, different research books you've read. What is the most interesting project that you've worked on or conducted yourself?
I gave it some thought because it wasn't easy to pick one. There have been many. I would focus, I think, on a more recent project that was on One Health. It was a fellowship program that I was able to put together between. It was a fellowship program that targeted Pakistani researchers, and it was conceived to allow them to become research fellows in One Health, and with funding from the U.S. And these individuals, who are all sort of in their younger career stage, would get to be fellows in laboratories in other countries outside of Pakistan, where they would hone their research skills, looking into questions that are of relevance to their home country, Pakistan, not relevant to the US or someplace else, so that they would go back, so that there would be no brain drain, but there would be capacity, sustainable capacity building in the country, people that have degrees in veterinary medicine, in public health, even in medicine, who would be higher, with better training skills, better research skills. They would go back home to continue to work on projects and questions that are of immediate immediate importance to the well-being and the welfare of Pakistani citizens, the animals that they have, farm animals, agriculture, all of these things. I think that program, which ran for about 4 years, a colleague of mine at the academies is still running this after I left. I think this has given an opportunity that was, we were very lucky to be able to provide this unprecedented opportunity to other scientists from that country so that they can pursue research projects the way they are, they're dreaming about them.
That's amazing. I feel like that's an amazing initiative that you were a part of. I think that's really great. It's always about providing the research and the opportunity for them to actually make the change and foster what they want. And that kind of leads me to my next question is, how do you usually spend your free time to advocate in improving human and animal welfare and like educating students about the problems that you see? Because I see that in the future generation is what needs to be educated because they're the future leaders. So how do you, do this? I mean, apart from the initiative that you were just talking
So I laughed because there isn't really a lot of free time.
about.
Um, but the little free time that I have, I am involved with various initiatives and committees of the Arlington Public Schools, not in the classroom, but these are citizen committees that provide advice, let's say, to the staff of APS, Arlington Public Schools, or to the superintendent. So I have done 6 years on the Budget Advisory Council. I am now involved with the Science Advisory Committee, and this is during COVID. We're struggling a lot with not only how you can do good science using Zoom, or in the case of APS, Microsoft Teams, but the fact that students have been removed from the natural environment, being able to be outside, being able to sort of commune, if you will, with nature, and see how you don't have to have sophisticated equipment, a big lab, Bunsen burners, hoods, this, that, the other, to be able to do science, to create experiments, to discuss hypothesis building while you are outside, in a forest, in a park, looking at the worms, looking at the butterflies in the spring and the summer, looking at the flowers, so many different things. All of these things have been cut back because of COVID. And the Science Advisory Committee, of which I'm just one member, has been very hard trying to find some answers to this. And so this is primarily how I try to help students, because somebody helped me in different parts of my life. And that's one of the ways that I have to give back.
Yeah, that's an amazing initiative that you're working on and working with the schools. I know here also at the Children's Science Center, we're doing a lot of virtual webinars and a lot of virtual programs and trying to adapt to the situation to provide students with that same STEAM like experience and passion for STEAM that we all love. So that's definitely something we're working on. What advice from what you've learned so far would you like give us to encourage students to learn and advocate for the welfare of human and animal and get into the environment and nature more?
I actually don't have an advice for you. Whenever I am in the children's lab, let's say,
Yeah.
in the science lab, whenever I'm there and I see the staff of the museum, for lack of it is a museum, it is a children's science center lab, however you want to call it. Whenever I'm there and I see not only how dedicated you all are, but the kinds of ideas that you have, I feel that I know nothing. I mean, in my field, maybe I do, but when I'm there, I am the newbie. I always sit back and I am amazed at the thoughts and at the experiments and at the different ways of approaching problems that everybody there has. I'm just amazed. It's
There's always
like
more to
going
learn.
into an actual art museum, because it's I look at what happens and all the opportunities that are there for children and the parents and the families and schools, with the same awe and a little bit of jealousy, because I cannot think that way, that creatively. And I'm just, I'm awestruck about everything that happens. So I actually don't have an advice to give. I can, in this particular situation.
Yeah, we're constantly looking to improve and create better and more amazing activities. I
That
know.
is amazing, actually. It's very creative, very amazing. Really, really, truly.
Yeah, I know last meeting we had with all of our youth advisory board members, we discussed how some student were like new ideas for the new museum and how we're going to incorporate more creative ideas. So we're
Mhm.
definitely always spinning off to try to make a better educational experience. And I feel like to kind of wrap up this interview, I feel like it'd be really nice to ask you, what advice do you have for young people in pursuit of their passion for STEAM? Obviously, you've had a very impactful career, a unique career. And so what advice would you give to the kids out there?
Um, so I think sometimes those of us who are lucky discover their passion early in life, and they can be very certain and secure in their um, identification, and so they go for it full force ahead. It's been what I've observed over time with my colleagues, with others. That's not the case for most of us. And so often enough, you have to strive very hard to find what it is that makes you want to go to the office, let's say, every day, what makes you happy when you wake up, and what you think about during your dreams, if you will, if I can be poetic. And so my advice is to be to be introspective, in the sense of trying constantly to understand and ensure that where you are with what you've achieved, your career, your studies, your year abroad, whatever this is, that indeed it is what you want at that point in time. And if it's not, then to try to find and do the things that make you happier. Life really, with this pandemic, I think many of us realized more than before that really life is not infinite. We all know this. And of course, in your age, I felt that what I have in front of me is huge, but I'm not there anymore. And it's a bit different. But because we have to be true to what we do and happy with what we do. And for me, having a mentor, an advisor, a mentor who over the years also has become my friend and my collaborator. So now the relationship is equal. It started off though as a student and professor kind of relationship. I think that is key. There has been a lot written and discussed about the role of mentoring. It is absolutely true. It's key for a lot of success and a lot of happiness, I think.
I think those are some amazing words to end our interview. I think around remembering to be happy and to always have a mentor or a guide to follow, as well as like always trying to stay happy with whatever job or passion you are. So just to like strive after and not give up are some amazing words. And I want to thank you so much for taking some time to just give this insight into your life, kind of tell us about what you do on a daily basis, and to give some important advice to all the young kids and even older kids out there who want to go into the STEM field. So thank you.
Well, it's been my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.